Welcome to the Hollywood Persona Podcast.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Just making chit chat.
Yeah, people would expect a little chit chat.
Chit chat!
Welcome to the Hollywood Persona with Mitch Burns.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hollywood Persona. Thank you for listening. Today, I am here with my friend and filmmaker, Justen Noll of GN Films. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. He was just sharing photos of his children with me. We are longtime friends, kind of met through an old website that used to be around called Rope of Silicon, and which ended up having a podcast. And it's a long story, but it's interesting, and a lot of us still chat.
Yeah, just a couple of lizards on a podcast, and we actually used to have a podcast called Lizards on Film.
Lizards on Film. I think that ran for about 10 episodes, and we even had our Laramie on, and
It's somewhere around there. We had a guest host a couple times too. But the Laramie Legel being on an episode was pretty surreal.
Yeah. So you can find JN Films on YouTube. He has a ton of short films, a lot of which I've seen and are great. And just to see the progression through the years of how great of a filmmaker Justin is. His latest short I just watched this morning. I'm so happy he sent it to me. It's called Glumby. It's actually his background on YouTube. You can find the YouTube channel at the Hollywood Persona. And so I will link to the YouTube channel in the show notes. If you are on watching on YouTube at all, I just wanted to show you these that I have that I went and found. And just to talk about Glumby for a second, what happened to Pokey?
That is to be determined. It's kind of a cliffhanger.
I can't think about it without laughing.
Yeah. To not spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it yet, but Pokey plays an element, doesn't have any screen time, but plays a very important element to the story that really changes how you perceive Gumby as a character.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say the war. That's all I'll say, and how many times I laugh. Anyways, just go watch it. It's only 8 minutes. I highly suggest you follow his YouTube because it's given me a lot of great content over the years. So we're gonna bounce back a couple of movies. I don't know what movies Justin's seen, but he is about to tell me what he's seen recently. Kind of talk about it, and then I've got a couple too. So if you want to start, Justin, or do you want me to start?
I'll go for it.
Go.
I've actually seen a lot more recently than I'm used to.
Okay.
I know a lot of it is of the Disney variety, and I would say which has been good. I think one film for example, that I hadn't seen for ages, and I didn't really think much of when I think about my favorite Disney animated movies, was Tarzan. I was surprised at how good Tarzan was. I didn't realize. I think the simplicity of it was really refreshing. Kind of having the whole perspective of Disney animation, having seen Beauty and the Beast recently, having seen Wreck-It Ralph 2 recently, and a bunch of different ones in between. That one was really just kind of felt really independent of itself. It didn't feel like it was trying to do anything. It just was.
Yeah, it was just. Did you see it when you were younger or when it came out, kind of thing?
I think younger. I doubt that I saw it when it came out, just because I was
I think it was 96 or no,
99,
99.
and I would have been most likely 2 then when it came
Okay.
out.
And I was
So
9. That's what I was going to
yeah,
ask. But because it came out, mom and dad took us to the theaters. And then when it came out on VHS, it was a well-worn uh, VHS by the end. And my mom's a huge fan of Phil Collins, so she loved to. Oh my gosh, stop it. Everyone, he has just put his baby on camera, and she is that's Saoirse, right?
yep.
And I'm saying it wrong, I know, because
No, it's okay. Saoirse.
Saoirse.
You gotta
Oh
you
yeah,
almost add a
Saoirse.
little extra add a little
Yeah.
extra emphasis in there.
See, and I don't want another kid, but that big head, it's so cute. Oh my god. Beautiful. And look at that smile. See, so when
Okay.
my kid was like, when my oldest was that age, around that age, we showed him Tarzan. We had Tarzan on one day. And the trashing the camp scene
Mhm.
just made him laugh. So we would put that scene on all the time, and it was great because it's like Rosie O'Donnell and Brad Garrett, and it's just hilarious. Oh my gosh. No,
Yeah,
I love Tarzan.
that was a great scene. I think it it was made at the right time, because I feel like if that scene in particular was made nowadays, they would layer it so quickly with the sounds. The scene would be so much shorter and quicker.
Yeah,
But how it played out, it ended up being a really substantial scene, like a really big musical number.
yeah,
But they let all these sounds build,
yeah,
and they weren't so quick to rush into Rosie O'Donnell's character singing. I
yeah,
think
exactly.
it, if it was made nowadays, I think it would just be a minute and a half scene versus a like maybe 5 minute sequence,
Yeah,
just because I think there just wouldn't be the same level of patience in terms
yeah.
of executing that scene.
Well, and you're right because I think people like to have the creators of movies are worried about kids now and how like TikTok the entertainment they watch is such short bits, right? And they want to
Hmm.
keep them interested at every moment. It's why Pixar felt like, Buzz like Lightyear wasn't I didn't love Lightyear, but a younger kid might because there's a lot going on with like monsters and aliens and all that stuff. So might be Lightyear for a new generation. And I obviously you can't deny, a kid that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, so Tarzan's one that's kind of a blast from the past, and I didn't really remember any of it, was 101 Dalmatians. That from the what my parents have told me was that when I was really young, while I have 2 older brothers, while they're kind of being active running around, I would just sit and watch 101 Dalmatians, and I have no
Animated, obviously.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have no recollection of it really, but I watched it, and that movie is terrifying. And very violent. I think it has a G rating, which
Yeah.
yeah, it was surprising. I think I wasn't I wasn't the biggest fan. I felt like maybe just because of now how narratives are played out
Mhm.
nowadays,
Mhm.
it just felt like the ending of the film was like the end of the second act, in a sense, where Cruella de Vil was left on the side
Mm.
of the road after a car
Yeah.
accident, and that was it for her, versus actually having a bigger. I mean, it was a big scene, that chase scene, but
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I felt like there's 1 or 2 more steps beyond that in terms of kind of closing the story.
Mhm.
But there's some. I think that would be a really interesting one to study in terms of traditional animation
Yeah.
and uh the amount of times idiot was said in that movie.
Idiot?
Yeah, idiot or
Oh,
shut up was used so much in that movie, and I was
and
surprised because I
when
know that those are things that are really taken sensitively now
yeah,
for MPA ratings.
like I've heard
But
my kids say
yeah,
shut up or stupid like one or two times, and each time I'm like, hey, like we don't use that word. We don't call someone stupid, and we don't say shut up. And I sound like my parents, I know, but it's true when you have kids, like, those are improper things, and to hear them in a movie, you're like, oh, kind of like, I know it's not the F word or something, but you notice it more as a parent, right? Like, oh, they just,
yeah,
yeah, but no, that's
yeah.
interesting.
And it wasn't just like you're saying, it wasn't just like once or twice, but it was throughout. That was kind
Mhm.
of when a character wanted to insult another character. I think every single main human character in the movie called somebody an idiot at least once.
Well, and
And
then the bumbling sidekicks there, right?
yeah, they calling each other idiots, getting called
Yeah,
idiots by Cruella, then
yeah.
Cruella got called an idiot. Uh, and then I remember it just seemed to pass by and like nobody took offense to it. There was a scene where the mother was on the phone with Cruella and the
Oh,
husband was trying to chime in and uh and she like in the nicest way possible called it like when he was trying to after she was addressing him and finishing up and back to redirect back to Cruella was just like you idiot. Like it just slipped that in there. I'm like, that's interesting. It was the nicest you idiot I've probably ever heard.
I love that movie, and the
Yeah.
animation is just so uh rich and beautiful, and it's I love it. And my favorite scene from that movie is maybe is my comfort scene, like something that comforts me so much. It's when the dogs are trying to, like, I can't really remember, but one of the dogs, I think the little chubby dog, he's
Yeah.
he's following along, and he's um crossing out in the snow, and he's crossing out the
Yeah.
puppy paw prints with a
Yes.
branch. To me, that is so satisfying, and I think about it every time I'm in the snow. Every time. I'm always thinking
Yeah.
like, if I went and got a branch right now and like just dusted over my prints like he did, it's a comfort scene
That
for
was
me, which is
just the animation also for that scene was really smooth.
hmm
And it
hmm
just and it seemed very visceral, like where he kind of almost tangible in a sense.
hmm
It's not just where there's this composite. It was interesting when there's a scene when during the car chase scene where Cruella goes down to the ditch and then comes back up.
hmm
There's some early compositing for
hmm
animation that was in fact, since you see this, there's all the snow's kind of like a cold blue, like a very slight blue hue to it, and then
yeah.
composite is like this kind of grainy, almost a little bit of a yellow hue,
hmm
for light that actually interacts with the car. So they actually probably had like a matte painting
mm
and then composited the actual moving element in there.
Yeah.
So that
And
was
yeah, the
just
way the car
yeah,
moves, and the way, like, she ends up crashing, spoiler alert, but the way she ends up
yeah,
crashing the car is so interesting and wild. Like, it's weird for me to say that it's an animation, but as a film lover now, to watch it, I might sit down with the kids and watch that tonight. Actually, that's not a bad idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then one more Disney. I know this is more to too, but one more Disney animation movie before I get to another movie
hmm
that I think arguably not just because it's ahead of its time, which I think it was when it came out, since everything really holds up well to it. And the animation is beautiful, and you see that you understand why it went over budget. Tangled, I think, in my opinion, is arguably, I would say, probably a little bit in contention with Zootopia as the best like CG Disney
hmm
animation
hmm
production. And yeah, just seeing it now and you kind of see why it went over budget,
Did
just
it?
because the animation, yeah, has
I'm
almost so Disney animation CG films range between 140 and 180 million dollar budgets.
yeah.
Tangled was, I want to say 270. It they
How much
really
money
it
goes into that?
the budget
Yeah.
really ballooned on that one.
I
So
I've seen the
it
first half an hour and that's it.
okay.
So
Yeah. I think it's one that I think if you go in fresh to it and
hmm
you it's it's almost like it's really true to the characters, good or bad, and the antagonist of the film is truly unrelenting
hmm
and maniacal, and there isn't a trying to get a empathetic twist in there
Right.
to, to try to do anything. It's just completely a character that's completely gaslighting Rapunzel the whole entire way through
Yeah.
and will not stop and is just relentless and selfish and and how from there like different antagonists, you uh get the twist in Frozen, you have the
hmm
twist in Zootopia,
hmm
you have no, there wasn't really a twist in Moana. It was just
Yeah, there was.
more of the typical. Well,
I think
I haven't seen
because
Moana. Yeah.
oh, okay. There's a character who you think is a big evil person, but then they're not.
Oh, right. Okay.
They're just misunderstood.
Okay, misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
So
kind of a twist.
yeah, so it seems like the dynamic is like they set up expectations and they try to flip it on its head. And
hmm
that I understand, but when it's every antagonistic character,
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to see somebody that's true to who they actually are as a character,
hmm
and that creates enough dramatic propulsion and conflict that there doesn't need to
People,
be a twist.
yeah, people love the sympathetic villain or the yeah, I was gonna say something else, but I can't remember. But like the sympathetic or anti-hero, right? Like nowadays,
Yep.
and someone you can root for, but like or you under like even with like Thanos, we say like he's not like his cause was he thought he was doing something right and something that the world needed and blah blah blah. So I'm just saying the world is in love with that, right? There has to be a story, but to have a character that is just purely evil is fun sometimes and something maybe Disney should try to get back to a little bit.
Yeah. So I think with a lot of the live action projects that they've based off by basically remaking animated films,
Mm-hmm.
they've tried to add to making the villains have some sort of sympathetic quality.
Mm-hmm.
I know Cruella is like a spin-off remake, but that one, like, you obviously have to make her somewhat likable in terms
Yeah.
of the main character, but if you're trying to keep it somewhat cohesive to 101 Dalmatians,
Yeah.
she's
Doesn't especially
you
putting
like
Emma Stone in that role.
yeah, it's yeah. So it's interesting to see how that evolves and changes
hmm
and is represented.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A la Maleficent and yeah,
right.
Cruella.
Maleficent, that's the perfect example. I was really frustrated with Maleficent, not because of the character, just because half the movie is just Angelina Jolie walking around with scenic shots.
Yeah. And I mean, I can watch Angelina Jolie all day, but well, I can't. Like I don't want to. But I love her, but that's not that a movie that does not make. I will say.
Yeah.
Or anyways.
Yep.
So I saw a movie.
Yep.
I saw a movie called Idiocracy.
Yes.
Have you seen this? Or
Yes,
heard
I
of it?
have.
Okay. It's a 2006 comedy starring Luke Wilson, Maya Rudolph, Dax Shepard, Terry Crews, and Justin Long. Directed by Mike Judge. He's the creator of Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill, director of and writer of many movies like Office Space and not many movies actually, but a couple, Extract and a couple of movies. He's Silicon Valley, another TV show he helped create. Really, really smart guy. But like, the best thing about this man is he can make stupid funny. He can make idiots funny in the best way. Like Beavis and Butthead, I actually ended up watching Beavis and Butthead do the universe, and that's not my style of humor, but I laughed a lot because it's bottom of the barrel dumb humor, but in really smart situations, and Mike Judge just knows what he's doing, and where the Farrelly brothers or the Wayans brothers, like, weird that they both are brothers and they came to me, but where some of their movies later on were just silly stupid, and there was no real smartness there, like stupid just to be stupid and make people laugh. And that's just why I think I love Mike Judge so much, and I want to watch more of his stuff because he can make dumb funny. And if you can do that for me, then that's a lot, because I kind of hate that inane stupidity just to be stupid. Yeah, if you know what I mean.
I would say Idiocracy has one of the most interesting evolutions in terms of reception over time.
Oh,
When
yeah.
it came out, it wasn't really well acclaimed. It just kind of was perceived as more stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Probably about a decade later, it's hilarious
Mm-hmm.
just because it's more relatable and the parallels are more clear in terms of
Yeah.
the forecasting for, I think, was it 2050 or
Yeah, 2,505.
okay, 2000, yeah,
Because it was like 500
2505.
years from 2005. Yeah.
Yeah. So nowadays it isn't funny anymore because
Yeah.
a lot of it's coming like there's a lot of truth there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost disheartening and sad watching
Mm-hmm.
it. You
Like,
still laugh, but you laugh because you're crying inside.
yeah,
Because
it's
a lot of these things that you thought was stupid, then you thought was funny, now is really coming true.
Yeah. And my joke was, it's such an absurd movie, but I think the world we're living in is more absurd at sometimes, and the corporations, like there's just one big corporation basically now in that movie, which is like what we're getting to basically with Disney or Fox or something, whatever wins are gonna own everything. And
It was Costco and Starbucks, right? That's the kind of the two big.
yeah, well, Starbucks ended up being like a sex term, and then Costco, they go up and it's giant, which is made me laugh so hard. But
Yeah. And then the crops were watered by Gatorade.
Yeah, an off-brand, some sort of Gatorade they had in that world. But no,
Yeah.
good memory, because like this is the first time I've seen it. I gave it 4 stars. So it's on Disney Plus. I think it is a
Wait, it's on Disney Plus?
Well, it is here in the States because Disney Plus is like your Crave.
Yeah.
We get a lot of the Crave stuff, so it might be on your Crave, or maybe it's HBO Max. Like the laws and legalities of movies over here is different, so they end up going to different streaming
Sounds
sites.
better. Like it would be hilarious to have Idiocracy on Disney Plus.
I
I'm just trying
know.
to picture that. Going from watching Bluey with the kids to then watching Idiocracy.
And all the Alien movies are on Disney Plus here. Because what
They,
are the alien?
Fox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
since Disney owns Fox.
yeah,
That's nuts.
it is nuts. I mean, obviously you can make a profile that's like just kid friendly and stuff, but it is still funny when I go over to and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna watch Aliens.
Yep.
So did you have another movie? One more you
Yeah, the
said?
last movie, I think this one, I would say, is a completely different territory from all the other ones I mentioned. Since I know the other ones, you can kind of tell that I have kids.
If you
Is
couldn't
the
tell by the baby popping up on screen.
Yes, the movie I ended up actually seeing it last night was is called White Noise.
Okay,
It's
I
the
saw
latest
this.
Noah Baumbach film with Adam Driver, Greta Gerwig.
Mhm.
It talk about things coming true. That is set in Ohio. There's a train derailment that creates a natural
Oh,
disaster.
shut up.
Now in Ohio, there's a train derailment.
I
There's
didn't even
chemicals on board that's creating a natural disaster.
I
It's,
didn't even watch. I watched it so long ago, like when it just came out, like what, 4 or 5 weeks ago. But oh
yeah.
wow, huh?
So I'm just like, holy crap. Yeah. And just a lot of this stuff, how people felt in that we're going through that experience of just like this isn't being reported on
Hmm.
and everything. We're kind of on our own. That's kind of the semblance of what it's like now. Not to get into it like politically or
Yeah.
sociologically or anything like that, but it's nuts. Obviously, it's a much bigger movie than that.
Hmm.
Because it deals with the grasping of mortality and you know, it was interesting just kind of digesting that movie. Um, and it being about really people trying to take matters in their own hands, but it creates more chaos and
Hmm.
discord and it just leads to more frustrations and disappointment and unraveling of relationships and people's health and well-being. Uh,
That part I found a little infuriating at times.
yeah,
I was hoping for more of an answer, like, but more of a. I mean, you do get an answer, but like, it takes so long to get there that I was kind of annoyed by the end. I still enjoyed the movie, and the more I think about it, the more I've been able to think about it, I like it a lot more. Um,
yeah.
just and the production design of like the grocery store they go through and those are some of the funniest moments with Don Cheadle and them
Oh
going through the
yeah.
grocery store and
Yep.
yeah, there's a part. Oh, that it is really funny. Actually, it might be one of Baumbach's Baumbach's Baum.
Yeah.
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 It might be one of his more funnier movies uh, in a while. But I
Yeah.
mean, all of his movies have that humor. But you know, I did find myself laughing at the absurdity at times, which isn't
I
absurd
kind of
because we were going
right.
through that pandemic, and obviously he was kind of mimicking that without and it wasn't depressing. Like he ended up showing the pandemic in a way like where we weren't like, really, we gotta hear more about the pandemic, like, you know.
Yeah. I think my takeaway from it is that all these different people that were trying to be self-reliant, that they end up falling short in so many different ways. And whether it's through they might get more information, like the son who was telling other people about the what
Yes,
scientifically was going on,
but nobody
was
else
never
knew, but he
satisfied.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he knew he never was happy. Uh, the two main characters of that Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig played in different ways that they had different pursuits, but they never fulfilled and just kind of for me translated into really displaying uh all these different people that are trying to do it on their own, but they can't. And so so it ultimately leads them to have some sort of faith beyond themselves, whether it's through trust, whether it's through relationships or whether it's through spirituality. Um, I think I'm trying not to spoil it because it's so recent, but the one scene where they're getting treated for
Mhm.
injuries at the end of the movie
Mhm.
has definite symbolism and
Mm.
overall meaning towards a higher being, higher calling, uh, uh, that is kind of casting some relief and kind of a break from the noise of the world in that moment. And yeah, and there's an interesting juxtaposition that moment because who they're being treated by, you think they're gonna be uh, have one certain belief, but then none of them believe that way. And
Yeah.
that's an oversimplification just because I don't want to spoil
Yeah,
that
no,
moment.
no, but
Yeah.
like now this just makes me want to watch it again. I think I gave it 3 stars, but the more I've thought about it, I'd love to give it a higher grade, and I'd love to give it a rewatch because there's something there. Like with all Baumbach movies, you end up thinking about them, and they slide into your brain in a spot that really really enlightens you in many ways sometimes. And so now, are we is there a federal investigation on Bombach that maybe he caused this, you think, to for more eyes on his movie? Like, have we looked into that?
I don't know.
I'm
I
kidding.
just saw a picture of I just recently saw a picture of how some of the railroad tracks are in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I try to take things with a grain of salt, so I want to take it with a grain of salt, but just seeing the actual condition of the railroad tracks,
Yeah.
they don't look like they look like they're built by kindergartners.
Oh.
And no, since they go like this and that, and
Yeah.
you see a train trying to drive through it, and it's just kind of a mess. They have to go at basically 10 miles per hour to not
Mm-hmm.
derail through
Yeah.
those.
It was a it was a disaster waiting to happen. Um,
Yeah.
I typed in white noise just to kind of refresh, and there's like 5 articles here. The eerie parallels between Netflix's White Noise and the Ohio train derailment. So that's
And
very
I think,
interesting.
yeah, and I think some of the conspiracy theorists are gonna have an interesting artistic awakening watching that movie
Yeah.
because of just it being completely different style than what people were typically of. They might be more of the grown-ups crowd
Yeah.
of their taste in
Yeah.
movies. Not to, I know that's very sounds very judgmental, but
Um, didn't they? Yeah, we used to have they used to mouth breathers, I think they used to say on Ropa Silicon or so,
yeah,
or something like that. I think they called them, but uh
yeah,
anyways, not anyway. What? Yeah, we could go a whole road down there, but I'll jump into
redirect.
I'll jump I'll jump into my next movie, my last movie I'm going to talk about today. We're going to be talking more movie stuff, but I watched Whitney Houston. I want to dance with somebody. Uh, 2022 movie starring Naomi Aki as the titular Whitney Houston, Ashton Sanders as Bobby Brown, Tamara Tooney as Whitney's mother Sissy, Clark Peters as her father, and Stanley Tucci as Clive Davis's longtime manager. I mean, Clive Davis, Whitney's longtime manager. Um, why did I watch this? Well, I don't know a lot. I know all the basics of Whitney Houston's story. and quite a bit of her music. But it was nice to sit down and learn something about her early career and witness and listening to the music. Naomi Aki, that's how you say it, Aki, has the energy and the heart and the passion of Whitney down pat. Like, she is so electric on the screen. But there were times, like, honestly, to me, she looked more like Beyonce at times than she did Whitney, which is fine. I mean, you can't find it's so hard to find a lookalike who can act, and the singing is mostly Whitney, but you do know when it's her singing, and she does have an incredible voice because you hear it at the beginning when she's doing choir and stuff. But they ended up using most of Houston's stuff, especially like not many people can do her "I Will Always Love You" or something. So, they quote it as like the untold story, but I was young when a lot of this was happening, and out of here. Remember, I'm recording, honey. The untold story of Glumby. But that was an untold story of Glumby. This story of Whitney Houston has been told. Like, I knew everything that happened in the movie. And they even leave out more major moments. Like, the only thing I didn't really know is how great of a relationship she had with her producer or manager, Clive Davis. And he's still alive. Her mother's still alive. Bobby Brown's still alive. And I know we've talked about this before. You and I have talked about cancel culture. And you want to talk about someone who hasn't been canceled is Bobby Brown. He just made an album in 2012. Like, I mean, I think if he tried to do something today, people would be like, no. But I don't know. It was just weird. I went and looked, and he's still on Spotify. You can listen to all his music if you want. And he beat and gaslit Whitney Houston, and yeah, it was really interesting. It was interesting, but ultimately the movie's very like, one line. Where it's headed, obviously, but it's not one of the biopics that I will remember. But it was fun. I gave it 2.5 stars. It was fun. I had a decent time. But yeah. So, what do you think about that?
There's a lot to unpack. I haven't seen it yet, but
Yes.
There's a lot to be said, but I think one of the most important things that need to be said is that it's the same screenwriter as Bohemian Rhapsody, and I think that is a testament to what to expect from it. I think Bohemian Rhapsody, I did see that in theaters. I think it was one of the most frustrating theater experiences I have
Were
that
people
I've
singing?
been in.
Is that why?
What was that?
Were people singing? Is that why?
No, it's because I'm watching this and Rami Malek's good, but they don't realize that they're watching a copy and paste movie. It's literally every single scene is from another movie.
Yeah.
If you watch that, it's not true to this person's experience. Every scene's just supplanted. There's no originality. It's made like in a boardroom. It's not
so
made,
storyboarded.
No actual movie there, and it's basically getting praised for all the wrong reasons in a sense. And if there's a phenomenal performance that seems to make up for the rest of it, which for me doesn't. It just makes me more frustrated because they wasted this person who did this amazing performance.
And that's
And
why
I
Elvis
just
worked, because it wasn't cookie cutter and he did something completely different. I mean, you either love or dislike. I had my problems with Elvis, but Elvis, at least Buzz Larman tried something, instead of, he didn't cookie cutter for the most part. Or maybe he did.
so Baz Luhrmann is one of my favorite directors.
Okay.
I like one of his films. I like his films more than other people, and I'm a staunch defender of his. And
Hmm.
Elvis is probably his most universally successful film to date.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, audience-wise, Gatsby was really successful.
And
I think
I don't know
Cat
what Moulin Rouge did at the time, but or
it
how
was it was kind of a breakout movie. It was unexpected, I think more
hmm
so. But I think Elvis is my least favorite Baz Luhrmann movie
hmm.
because I think Austin Butler's performance in that got so watered down, chopped up, thrown into a stew.
Hmm.
You don't get to spend time in their performance too often. Uh, I just wanted to kind of see a lot of these performance scenes uncut, a lot of
Hmm.
the moments uncut where we're not cutting back to Tom Hanks's Austin Powers character every five
Yes.
seconds because
Yes.
I really, I think I think there's fundamental wrongs with that movie. I think societally having an abuser being a narrator and the storyteller for a story, I think
Yeah.
it's really messed up, and I think societally have grown beyond that. And it's not just the way the characters portrayed, which is I think was hard to watch and listen to for
Yeah.
2.5 hours. I
Hmm.
think that is very problematic. I get what Baz Luhrmann was trying to do, having it be a tragedy, having, the antagonist being the storyteller. I get that, but this was a real person who was accused and manipulated and abused,
Yeah.
and then turned into a lousy person and hurt a lot of people along the way. Um, and I think one of the I remember when we were doing the Lizards on Film podcast, the one word you used that I think perfectly describes some of those aspects of Elvis is icky. It just feels
Yeah.
icky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've felt that recently with a movie that felt really icky. Couple movies, but
Yeah.
yeah, icky is a good word. You're just kind of like, oh, it makes you're like, oh no, that yeah. But I can see. I never thought about that, and so much as the narrator, the narration was like, why you kind of at first I was like, why are you doing this, and then you kind of wonder if the Colonel Parker, Tom Parker, is going to have a redemption or something, and he never does. He's just evil, and maybe part of the reason why we don't have Elvis had longer with Elvis and blah blah blah. So I don't know why we should have spent time with him when Austin Butler was giving this jaw dropping performance, and
I think
that's
that film could
sorry.
very easily been told as a love story between Elvis and Priscilla, as a tragic love story. I
Yes.
think Baz Luhrmann would have nailed that, would have been able to, that would have been right in his lane.
Hmm.
Being able to, since he would still be portraying Elvis as the main character,
Hmm.
you would still have like a prologue for the first act that can just be a combination of Priscilla's narration,
Yeah.
um, and
Priscilla's
kind of
role felt,
reflecting.
yeah. Sorry.
She was just there.
She was
She
just
had
there.
3 scenes of dialogue,
Yep. She
and
was
being
a
such an influential, important character,
yep.
she just had 3 scenes of dialogue.
She might as well have just been a
And
water bottle. Like, I mean, it was sad because I'm like, that love story is so unique and yeah. Anyways.
yeah, and I know those three scenes in particular were where they fell in love, uh, uh, when he
On
was in the
kid stuff
military.
or okay.
There was you get snippets of dialogue with the kid stuff. The next one was when she left Elvis. They had that big scene that all the dialogue felt like taken from Walk the Line. Um,
Yeah, I love that
it
movie.
was like, I'm not, I'm not leaving you for all the affairs you've had and all this. I'm leaving you because of the drugs. And I'm like, there's hinting at drugs, but this isn't a main like thing that Elvis
Yeah.
like. The debauchery was a bigger thing, but now we're throwing in drugs as kind of a main thing. Um,
Yeah, it didn't
and
unfold.
then the last one was the airport scene, which I thought that would, if the film around it was so much better, like in my opinion, I know a lot of people love the movie, so I'm
Yeah.
not trying to discredit other people loving the movie,
Yeah, no, you can love it.
but the
Nobody can hate it.
airport scene is so, I think, so good. It's such a strong Baz Luhrmann scene. I think you take away, Colonel Parker, you just you take it down to completely broken down Elvis Presley. He's at a fork in the road. He has two choices, very clear choices that takes in completely different directions. You have, the tragic outcome or the part that will save him. You have that such a tight, dramatic moment. And you have all this package in there as kids and the care that they have for one of another, even though they're no longer married, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of pain there. And then that was such a beautiful scene because you got it down to a simple root of just really solid fundamental storytelling. And I wish that was kind of more the embodiment of the movie. And
Yeah.
you could still have Tom Hanks as Colonel Parker as an antagonistic force.
But him brought down way,
Yeah.
like, he doesn't need to be in that many scenes. Like it should be about Elvis.
And then if you don't have his narration there, you could
Yeah.
be a little bit more lenient to almost the absurdist style of his type of character and everything.
Yeah. And someone else could have worked in that role. I mean, I love Tom Hanks, but he just didn't work for me. Someone better could have worked in that role in general, I think.
Yeah. But anyways, enough of Elvis. I know we spent more time talking about Elvis than Whitney Houston.
Well, just the one thing I was gonna say, the last thing I'll say about Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody, is it's the opposite of Elvis. Like, because Elvis was Austin Butler singing for some of it, and his performance is any Elvis performance is electric. And with Whitney Houston, every song they did, every single song, they did the whole song. Even if it's just her standing on stage for 4 minutes, you had to listen to the whole song and watch it, which is another kind of just cookie cutter. Oh, well, and she's not even singing the song. It's voiceover of Whitney, and which is just kind of frustrating. And a friend I was watching with near the end was like, oh, like she was doing her medley, which I was loving to listen to. And he kind of said, like, how much is left? I'm kind of bored. And I'm like, yeah, I can understand that, but if you really love Whitney and you don't see a lot of movies, these kind of cookie cutter movies are going to appeal to a certain type of people and win them over. And good for you, but would have loved a little more.
Only if those two movies swapped. Like, in that quality.
Yes.
So, because the performances, you could tell that there's a clear beginning, middle, like they each were their own story.
Yeah.
That they captured, and they were very thorough and diligent, but you only get 30 seconds of a 4-minute performance. And it was so disappointing because you're just like, yes, and then, oh, we're moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I know the one you get was the war protest song. But like I was talking about, every 5 seconds, cutting to Tom Hanks, cutting to Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
don't need to see that.
There's a great part in that when Elvis sings my favorite Elvis song. He does it just after the Christmas special, and I can't remember the name of the song. He kind of
Yeah.
wrote it for the movement, for the
Yep.
what
I
know
know.
what? Yeah.
Yeah.
That scene was so great, but it was just intercut with scenes of Tom Parker and we need to get he can't be doing this. Oh, I hate this. Blah blah blah. When it could have been, we could have enjoyed the performance and then cut to like him and Tom Parker having a conversation about it. Like the scene was almost ruined by Tom Parker of this beautiful song and beautiful performance of like his comeback. So yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad we talked about Elvis, though.
I feel like that was very good movie therapy.
I think it was. Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Hollywood Persona podcast. That was a great starter with Mr. Justen Noll at JN Films on YouTube is where you can find him. And you're on Instagram at JN Films. Yes. So you can follow him both there, and please subscribe to his YouTube because great content comes out of there. And I thank you. He will be back next week with another. Excuse me. We are gonna talk about streaming versus the theater and the home theater experience. We're gonna dive into a little discussion about that. This is what Justin and I used to do, is we would have like these great discussions about a certain topic, and it's something that I've wanted to do more. So I think it'll be really interesting to dive in, and this will even just give me more time to think about it, let it bounce around in my head. So Justin, thank you for being on. You are the best. And
It's round, Mitch.
Yeah, no problem. Give those kids a hug for me, and I'll see you next week for part 2.
Sounds good.
Okay. Perfect. So I'll just stop recording. Which I never know how to do. Well, I'm just going to end it then. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, bud.
Bye.
Thank
See you next week.
See you next week.